Captain Ryan Davis stared at the screen in front of him. His coffee cup sat cold and forgotten on the control panel. The readings made no sense. Something big was moving near Jupiter, and it was not human. "Are you seeing this?" asked Lieutenant Kate Wilson from her station. Her voice was quiet, almost scared. Ryan nodded slowly. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we have contact." The year was 2087. Humans had small bases on Mars and the Moon, but most people still lived on Earth. Ryan's ship, the UES Endeavour, was exploring the outer planets when their sensors picked up the strange object. 3 hours later, the thing came closer. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than any human ship. The metal looked different, too. It seemed to shine with its own light like it was made of crystal instead of steel. "Captain," said Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's science officer, "I'm getting energy readings I've never seen before. This technology is far beyond ours." Ryan felt his stomach tighten. First contact with aliens was something humans had dreamed about for centuries. But now that it was happening, he was not sure they were ready. The alien ship sent a signal. The computer worked to translate it, and soon a voice came through the speakers. It sounded like music, with high and low notes that seemed to dance together. "Greetings, small beings of the third planet," the voice said. "We are representatives of the Zephyrian Collective. We wish to speak with your leaders." Back on Earth, Commander Jake Morrison was having the worst day of his career. The Global Defense Initiative headquarters in Geneva was in chaos. Every phone was ringing, every screen was flashing with urgent messages. "Sir," said his aide, running up with another report, "the President wants to know our response plan. So do the Prime Ministers of Britain, China, and Russia." Jake rubbed his tired eyes. "Tell them we're working on it." Dr. Lisa Carter's report had arrived an hour ago. The alien ship was real, and it was waiting for Earth's response. Jake had seen the photos. The ship looked like a work of art, all smooth curves and glowing surfaces. It made human spacecraft look like scrap metal. "Get me Admiral Ben Parker," Jake said, "and find Dr. Lisa Carter's contact file. We need our best people on this." 2 days later, the first meeting took place. The aliens had moved their ship closer to Earth, parking it just outside the moon's orbit. Captain Ryan Davis and a small team went up in a shuttle to meet them. The alien who greeted them was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue crystal. It had 4 arms and moved like it was dancing. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound calm and musical. I'm Harmonizer Veltar," it said. "I speak for the collective in this region of space." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. She had been chosen to lead the human delegation. "I'm Dr. Carter representing Earth. We're honored to meet you." Veltar made a sound that the translator called laughter, but it sounded cold. "Honored? How interesting. Your species has such simple emotions." The meeting took place in a room on the alien ship. Everything was smooth and white, with no sharp edges anywhere. The chairs seemed to grow out of the floor when they needed them. "We have watched your species for some time," Veltar continued. "You are quite amusing. You still use chemical rockets to leave your planet. You fight wars with metal bullets. You even need to sleep for 8 hours every day." Dr. Carter felt her cheeks grow red, but she kept her voice steady. "Our technology may seem simple to you, but we've achieved a lot in a short time." "Short time?" Veltar laughed again. "Yes, your lives are very brief, 70 or 80 years at most. We live for thousands of your years. It makes you very impatient." The alien moved to a wall that suddenly became transparent. Earth hung in space below them, blue and green and beautiful. "Your planet is actually quite lovely," Veltar said. "It would be a shame if something happened to it." Dr. Carter felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "Your species is what we call dangerous but primitive," Veltar explained. "You have weapons that could destroy your own planet, but you're too emotional to use them wisely. You fight each other over small pieces of land. You can't even agree on how to govern yourselves." The alien turned back to face her. Its crystalline face showed no expression that humans could read. "The collective has seen this before," Veltar continued. "Young species that develop weapons before wisdom. They usually destroy themselves within a few hundred years. We prefer to step in before that happens." "Step in how?" Dr. Carter asked. "We offer guidance," Veltar said. We have special places where dangerous species can live safely. Protected reservations where you can't hurt yourselves or others. You would have everything you need: food, shelter, entertainment. No more wars, no more suffering. Dr. Carter's mouth fell open. You're talking about putting us in cages. We prefer to call them sanctuaries, Veltar replied. The alternative is much less pleasant. If a species refuses our help, we classify them as a galactic threat. Such threats must be contained. The meeting ended soon after. Dr. Carter and her team returned to Earth with the alien ultimatum. Humans had 6 months to decide: submit to alien protection or be destroyed as a dangerous species. Jake Morrison read the report 3 times. The aliens were giving Earth a choice between slavery and death. They thought humans were too stupid and violent to be allowed freedom. What do we know about their technology? He asked Dr. Kevin Walsh, the Defense Initiative's top scientist. It's incredible, Dr. Walsh replied. Their ship uses some kind of energy field for propulsion. Their weapons could probably level a city without leaving any radiation. But Jake? What? They're overconfident. They let Dr. Carter's team take detailed scans of their ship. They're not even trying to hide their capabilities. It's like they think we're too primitive to understand what we're seeing. Jake nodded slowly. The aliens thought humans were simple and predictable. They expected Earth to either submit quickly or fight a short, hopeless war. Maybe it was time to show them how wrong they were. Admiral Ben Parker arrived at the emergency meeting with grim news. Every military in the world is asking the same question: can we fight them? The honest answer is no, Jake replied. Not in a fair fight. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Then what are you thinking? Jake looked around the room at Earth's top military leaders. Who said anything about fighting fair? The 6-month deadline began to count down. Around the world, humans watched the alien ship hanging in space like a sword over their heads. Some called for immediate surrender. Others demanded that Earth fight to the last man. But in secret bunkers and hidden facilities, a small group of people began to plan. They knew humans couldn't win a clean war against advanced aliens. Good thing humans had never been very good at fighting clean wars. 3 months had passed since the aliens gave Earth their ultimatum. The whole world seemed to be arguing. Some countries wanted to surrender right away. Others talked about fighting. But nobody really knew what to do against an enemy so powerful. Colonel Amy Roberts stood in a bunker deep under the Colorado mountains. Around her, soldiers trained with weapons that looked nothing like normal guns. Dr. Kevin Walsh had been busy during these 3 months. The alien energy shields stop bullets and missiles, Dr. Walsh explained to the group. But they seem designed to stop high-energy attacks. These sonic weapons might work differently. Amy picked up one of the strange guns. It looked like someone had built it in a garage using car parts. Will it kill them? Maybe not kill, Dr. Walsh said. But their crystal-like skin seems to vibrate at certain frequencies. This should hurt them badly. Above ground, the world pretended to debate peacefully. Senator Claire Brooks gave speeches about finding a diplomatic solution. She met with world leaders and appeared on television, always talking about peace and cooperation. But late at night, Claire met with people like Amy and Jake in hidden rooms. They planned for a war that most humans didn't even know was coming. The aliens had made their first big mistake. They put a monitoring station on the moon, but they only sent a small crew to run it. Worse, they let human scientists visit to observe their technology as part of the diplomatic process. Captain Tony Mitchell was one of those scientists. He had been a spy before becoming a space engineer, and old habits were hard to break. Every time he visited the moon station, he brought back information. Their computers are incredible, Tony reported to Jake. But they're designed for their psychology, not ours. They assume everyone will be logical and cooperative. Their security is full of holes. Dr. Kevin Walsh leaned forward. What kind of holes? They don't expect anyone to lie to them, Tony said, or to pretend to be someone else. Their whole system is built on trust. It's like they've never dealt with dishonest people before. Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. Keep visiting. Learn everything you can. The aliens were making more mistakes every day. They studied humans like scientists studying lab rats, but they got everything wrong. Harmonizer Veltar sent regular reports back to the collective. His latest message was full of confidence and amusement. The humans continue to fascinate us, he reported. They argue constantly among themselves. Their leaders cannot agree on simple decisions. They waste enormous energy on emotions like anger and fear. Veltar watched video feeds from Earth showing protesters and political debates. To alien eyes, it looked like chaos. Most amusing is their concept of individual freedom, he continued. They would rather suffer and die than accept guidance from their superiors. It is like watching children refuse medicine because it tastes bad. What Veltar didn't understand was that he was watching human society prepare for war. The arguments weren't chaos. They were democracy in action. The protests weren't weakness. They were people choosing to fight instead of surrender. The aliens had evolved as a naturally peaceful species. They achieved space travel through cooperation and shared wisdom. War, to them, was something that happened when logic failed. They had conquered other species before, but those aliens had been like them, logical and peaceful. When faced with superior technology, those species surrendered quickly and accepted collective guidance. Humans were different, but the Zephyrians couldn't see it. Dr. Nina Brooks was a psychologist who specialized in understanding alien behavior. She spent her days studying recordings of Zephyrian communications, trying to figure out how they thought. "They're not evil," she reported to the Defense Committee. "They genuinely believe they're helping us. In their minds, they're saving us from destroying ourselves." "That doesn't make them less dangerous," Senator Clare said. "No, but it explains their tactics," Nina replied. "They're planning a gentle conquest. They want to win with minimal casualties, then put us in comfortable cages. They think we'll be grateful once we see how much better life is under their protection." Amy Roberts laughed bitterly. "They really don't know us at all." Nina nodded. "That's our advantage. They're preparing for the kind of war they understand. Quick, clean, and logical. They're not ready for the kind of war humans fight. The aliens made another crucial error. They let human news crews film their moon base and interview their personnel. They thought transparency would help humans accept the inevitable. Instead, it gave Earth's military detailed intelligence about alien capabilities and weaknesses. Engineer Maria Lopez watched the footage over and over. She had spent 20 years designing mining equipment and construction robots. Now she was figuring out how to turn those machines into weapons. "Look at their vehicles," she said, pointing at the screen. "Beautiful design, very efficient, but they're built for a peaceful species that never fights." "What does that mean?" asked General Pete Collins. "No armor where it matters," Maria explained. "No redundant systems. If you damage one key component, the whole thing stops working. They're like expensive sports cars, fast and pretty but fragile." Maria's team began modifying human equipment. Mining lasers became anti-aircraft weapons. Construction robots became mobile gun platforms. Cargo ships became troop carriers. Everything was ugly, improvised, and looked like it might fall apart at any moment. But it would work, and the aliens would never see it coming. Lieutenant Sam Turner was practicing in a flight simulator when the alarm went off. He was one of the pilots training to fight alien aircraft, even though no one was sure human fighters could compete. "What's happening?" he asked his instructor. "Alien patrol coming close to Earth," came the reply. "They want to observe human military capabilities for their reports." Sam grinned. "Want to give them something to observe?" 20 minutes later, Sam was in the cockpit of a modified fighter jet, heading toward the alien patrol. The aliens had given permission for this demonstration, expecting to see primitive human technology that they could easily defeat if necessary. The alien ships were beautiful, silent, and fast. They moved like dancers in space, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Sam's fighter was loud, smoky, and covered in crude modifications. Maria's team had bolted extra weapons onto every available surface. It looked like flying junk. The mock dogfight lasted 10 minutes. Sam lost, of course. The alien ships were faster and more maneuverable, but he managed to land several hits with his practice weapons before going down. After the exercise, the alien pilot communicated with Sam. "Your flying skills are impressive for such a primitive craft," it said, "but your technology is far behind ours." "Yeah," Sam replied, "we'll have to work on that." What the alien didn't know was that Sam's fighter had been recording everything. Every movement, every energy signature, every tactical pattern was now stored in human computers, and Sam had learned something important. The aliens flew like they had never been in real combat. Their maneuvers were textbook perfect, but predictable. They followed rules. Sam had grown up playing violent video games and watching war movies. He knew how to fight dirty. Back on Earth, the 6-month deadline was getting closer. Publicly, world leaders continued to debate. Some called for surrender, others for resistance, most for more time to decide. But in secret, the real decision had already been made. Jake Morrison stood in the main command bunker, looking at reports from around the world. Hidden factories were producing improvised weapons. Secret training camps were preparing unconventional soldiers. Underground networks were setting up supply lines for a long war. "Are we really going to do this?" asked Admiral Ben Parker. "Fight aliens with technology centuries ahead of ours." Jake looked at the latest intelligence reports. The aliens had 12 ships in Earth's solar system. Each one could probably destroy every human military base within hours, but they were expecting either quick surrender or a short, conventional war. They weren't prepared for what humans were actually planning. "Ben," Jake said quietly, "they know us. They think we're just another species that will roll over when faced with superior force. Aren't we?" Jake smiled grimly. "Ask the British how well that worked when they tried to control American colonists. Ask Napoleon how easy it was to occupy Spain. Ask Hitler how quickly Russia surrendered." Ben nodded slowly. "You're talking about guerrilla warfare, terrorism, fighting dirty." "I'm talking about fighting to win," Jake replied. "The aliens want a clean, civilized war with rules and honor. We're going to give them the kind of war humans are actually good at." The deadline was now only 2 weeks away. Across Earth, people prepared for the most important choice in human history. The aliens watched and waited, confident that logic would prevail. After all, what species would choose certain destruction over comfortable survival? They were about to find out. The day had finally come. 6 months after first contact, Earth had to give its answer to the Zephyrian Collective. Would humanity accept alien protection, or choose to be destroyed as a galactic threat? Senator Claire Brooks stood at the podium in the United Nations building. Every world leader was there, either in person or by video link. The alien ship waited in space above them, its crystalline hull catching the sunlight like a jewel. Claire looked calm, but her hands shook slightly as she held her speech. The words on the page would either save humanity or doom it. "To Harmonizer Veltar and the Zephyrian Collective," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of Earth through television and radio. "We have considered your offer carefully. Around the world, humans stopped what they were doing to listen. In hidden bunkers, soldiers checked their weapons one last time. In secret factories, workers put finishing touches on improvised war machines. Your technology is impressive," Claire continued. "Your civilization is ancient and wise. You have achieved things we can only dream of." Harmonizer Veltar listened from his ship, confident that humans had seen reason. His reports to the collective had predicted this outcome. Faced with superior force, the logical choice was surrender. "But," Claire said, and that single word changed everything. "We must respectfully decline your offer of protection." A murmur went through the assembly hall. On the alien ship, Veltar's crystalline face showed the first sign of surprise. "Earth chooses freedom," Claire announced. "We choose the right to make our own mistakes, fight our own battles, and decide our own future. We will not trade our liberty for safety, no matter how comfortable the cage might be." The speech continued for another 10 minutes, but the important part was done. Humanity had chosen to fight. Veltar was genuinely puzzled. In all his centuries of life, he had never encountered a species that chose certain destruction over logical surrender. He opened a communication channel to Earth. "Dr. Carter," he said when she appeared on screen, "surely your leaders have made an error. Our offer is generous. Your alternative is extinction." Lisa Carter had been expecting this call. "No error, Harmonizer. This is our final answer." "But why?" Veltar asked. "Your species could have peace, prosperity, safety. Instead, you choose war against an enemy you cannot defeat. It makes no logical sense." Lisa smiled sadly. "Logic isn't everything, Veltar. Sometimes the only choice that matters is between living free and living in chains." The alien was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his musical voice sounded different, harder. "Very well," he said. "The collective gave you every opportunity to choose wisdom. Since you prefer destruction, we will accommodate you." 3 hours later, Veltar made his own broadcast to Earth. His image appeared on every screen, his translated voice speaking in perfect human languages. "People of Earth," he began, "your leaders have made a tragic choice. They have chosen violence over peace, destruction over prosperity." Jake Morrison watched from the command bunker, surrounded by military leaders from every nation. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "The Zephyrian Collective hereby declares a state of intervention," Veltar announced. "We will conduct a limited pacification operation to remove your military capability and bring your species under proper guidance." Dr. Nina Brooks, the psychologist studying alien behavior, took notes as she listened. Veltar's choice of words was revealing. "He's not declaring war," she observed. "He's declaring a police action. They still think this will be quick and clean. We will target only military installations," Veltar continued. "Civilian areas will be avoided. Casualties will be minimized. Once your government see the futility of resistance, we expect surrender within several weeks." General Pete Collins shook his head. "Several weeks? They really don't understand what they're dealing with." The alien broadcast ended with what Veltar clearly intended as reassurance. "Do not fear, humans. This unpleasantness will be brief. Soon you will see that collective guidance is far superior to your current chaos." Within hours, alien ships began moving into position around Earth. 12 massive vessels took up stations above major continents. Their weapons powered up, targeting military bases and satellite networks. Lieutenant Sam Turner sat in his modified fighter, waiting on a hidden airstrip in the Nevada desert. Around him, dozens of other pilots made final preparations. Their aircraft looked like they had been built in scrapyards, covered with improvised armor and makeshift weapons. "Remember," his squadron leader said over the radio, "they're expecting conventional resistance. Let them win the first few battles. Make it look like we're fighting the kind of war they understand." Engineer Maria Lopez watched from a concealed bunker as the first alien attack began. Energy beams lanced down from space, striking military bases with surgical precision. The weapons were incredibly advanced. They disabled electronics and destroyed vehicles without harming nearby buildings. "Beautiful work," she admitted grudgingly. "Clean, efficient, minimal collateral damage. They really are trying to minimize casualties. But Maria's instruments were recording everything. Energy frequencies, beam patterns, targeting systems, all the data her teams would need to build countermeasures." The first day of the pacification operation went exactly as the aliens expected. Human military forces responded with conventional tactics and were easily defeated. Air bases were neutralized, naval fleets disabled, army units scattered. Veltar reviewed the reports with satisfaction. "Human resistance is crumbling as predicted," he told his subordinates. "Their weapons are primitive, their tactics predictable. This operation will be concluded within days, not weeks." But in hidden bunkers around the world, the real human military watched and waited. The forces being destroyed were mostly obsolete equipment and volunteer units whose job was to make the aliens feel confident. Captain Alex Morgan commanded a submarine that officially didn't exist. Hidden in an underwater cave system, his crew had spent months preparing for this moment. His vessel had been stripped of everything unnecessary and packed with experimental weapons. "Sonar contact," his operator reported. "Alien ship passing overhead, heading for the naval base." "Let it go," Alex ordered. "We're not here to fight fair battles." The submarine waited until the alien ship had passed, then quietly followed. The aliens had just destroyed a human naval base, and now they were returning to their orbital position, confident and unsuspecting. Sergeant Mike Davis led a unit that called itself sanitation workers. They wore civilian clothes and drove garbage, trucks through the ruins of a bombed military base. But their trucks carried more than trash. "Alien patrol coming?" his spotter reported. "Two of their ground vehicles, probably checking for survivors." Mike's team scattered, blending into the wreckage like they had trained for months. The aliens flew overhead in their beautiful, silent aircraft, scanning for human military activity. They found nothing suspicious, just some cleanup crews and a few scared civilians. But 20 minutes after they passed, Mike's garbage trucks were deploying concealed weapons and setting up ambush positions. The aliens had seen what they expected, to see not what was actually there. Dr. Rachel Stone worked in a laboratory that everyone thought had been destroyed. The facility was built into a natural cave system, invisible to alien sensors. Her job was to find biological weaknesses in the invaders. Fascinating, she murmured, studying samples of alien technology. Their materials are living crystal almost, like coral. And look at this. Their air recycling systems are completely biological. Her assistant looked up from his microscope. What are you thinking? Rachel smiled grimly. I'm thinking that if their technology is biological, it might be vulnerable to biological attacks. Earth has had 4 billion years to perfect biological warfare. Let's see how their systems handle some of our nastier microorganisms. The second day of the alien operation began with what looked like more human defeats. Resistance groups were hunted down and scattered. Government buildings were occupied. Alien forces began setting up administration centers in major cities. But something was wrong. Veltar couldn't identify what bothered him, but the human surrender wasn't proceeding as smoothly as expected. "Status report," he demanded from his ground commanders. "Sector Alpha secured," came the first reply. "Light resistance eliminated. No significant casualties." "Sector Beta secured. Some human military units retreated into urban areas, but they appear to be scavenging for supplies rather than organizing resistance." "Sector Gamma secured. Human naval forces destroyed or fled. Coastal areas under our control." Everything sounded perfect, but Veltar felt uneasy. In previous conquests, defeated species had sent surrender envoys by now. Human leaders should be negotiating terms of submission. Instead, there was only silence from the human government. Lieutenant Emma Foster sat in a hidden communications center, monitoring alien radio traffic. Her job was psychological warfare, but first she had to understand how the enemy thought. "They're confused," she reported to her superiors. "They keep asking each other why humans haven't surrendered yet. They expected white flags and peace negotiations. By now." "Any sign they're catching on to what we're really doing?" asked her commander. Asnai. The third day of the alien occupation began like the others. The sun rose over a planet that looked defeated. Alien ships patrolled the skies, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the morning light. Occupation forces maintained checkpoints in major cities. Everything seemed peaceful and controlled. Then the real war started. It began in a dozen places at once. Small explosions in alien supply depots, mysterious equipment failures in communication centers, patrol vehicles that simply vanished without sending distress calls. Sergeant Mike Davis crouched in the ruins of downtown Chicago, watching an alien checkpoint through his binoculars. 3 alien soldiers stood guard while their vehicles scanned passing humans for weapons. "Remember," he whispered to his team, "no direct attacks. We want them confused, not angry." One of his soldiers, a young woman named Jenny, raised her hand. "Sergeant, why aren't we just hitting them hard?" Mike smiled grimly. "Because, Jenny, we're not trying to kill 3 alien guards. We're trying to kill their confidence. The attack came from an unexpected direction. Not bullets or bombs, but a swarm of modified pigeons carrying tiny explosive charges. The birds, trained by Dr. Rachel Stone's biological warfare team, flew straight into the alien vehicle's air intakes. The explosions were small, barely loud enough to hear, but they shredded the vehicle's internal systems. The aliens found themselves stranded with no communication, no transportation, and no idea what had just happened. "Birds?" one alien said to another, staring at the feathers scattered around their disabled vehicle. "They were attacked by birds?" Across the city, similar scenes played out. Rats chewed through alien power cables. Modified insects carried viruses that infected alien computer systems. Even the local cats seemed to be working against the occupation, somehow always managing to trigger alien motion sensors at exactly the wrong times. Captain Alex Morgan's submarine struck its first target that same morning. An alien supply ship was making its routine run between the orbital fleet and Earth's surface. The vessel was unescorted. After all, humans had no space navy left to threaten it. The attack came from below, rising out of Earth's ocean like something from an old monster movie. Alex's submarine had been modified beyond recognition, its hull covered in experimental stealth coating and packed with improvised weapons. "Target locked," his weapons officer reported. Fire everything, Alex ordered. The submarine launched every missile it carried in a single massive salvo, not at the alien ship's hull, but at its exhaust ports and sensor arrays. The goal wasn't to destroy the vessel, but to blind and cripple it. The alien ship survived, but it was deaf, blind, and helpless. It sent out a distress call, but Alex's crew was already long gone, vanishing back into the ocean depths. One supply run disrupted, Alex reported to command. Enemy forced to divert escort vessels for future missions. Lieutenant Sam Turner's fighter squadron struck next. They had been hiding in abandoned subway tunnels, their aircraft camouflaged to look like wreckage. When an alien patrol flew overhead, Sam's pilots emerged like bats from a cave. The dogfight lasted only minutes. The alien ships were faster and more advanced, just as everyone expected. Sam lost 3 fighters and barely escaped with his life, but while the aliens were chasing, his decoy force, Lieutenant Kate Wilson's real strike team, hit their forward airbase. Kate's pilots came in low and fast, using terrain to mask their approach. They destroyed 3 alien aircraft on the ground before vanishing back into the mountains. "We lost a battle but won an objective," Sam reported later. "They're starting to realize that defeating our visible forces doesn't stop our invisible ones." The aliens' confusion grew as the day continued. Every report seemed to contradict their understanding of human capabilities. "Sector 7 reports equipment failure in their communication array," one alien commander told Harmonizer Veltar. "The humans appear to have used some kind of biological attack." Biological attack? Veltar was puzzled. "What do you mean?" "They're creatures, sir. Small flying animals carrying explosive devices, and some kind of microorganism that infected our computer systems." Veltar studied the report with growing concern. "Humans are using their planet's ecosystem as a weapon?" "It appears so, sir. We're also receiving reports of attacks by human civilians who disappeared immediately afterward. Our patrols can't find any organized military units, but resistance seems to be everywhere." This was not what Veltar had expected. In previous conquests, defeated species had fought with their remaining military units until those were destroyed. Then they surrendered. But humans seemed to be treating the destruction of their conventional forces as just the beginning of the real fight. Dr. Rachel Stone's biological warfare campaign was just getting started. Her team had spent months studying samples of alien technology, looking for weaknesses in their living crystal materials. "Their ships are beautiful," she admitted to her assistant. "But beauty isn't always practical. Their hull materials are living organisms, which means they can get sick." Her laboratory had developed dozens of engineered pathogens designed to attack alien technology. Some caused electrical failures. Others made their crystal hulls brittle and fragile. The best ones replicated inside alien systems, spreading like infections. "Release the first batch," she ordered. "Let's see how their immune systems handle Earth diseases." The attack vectors were everywhere. Modified insects carried the pathogens. Contaminated water was introduced into alien air recycling systems. Even human prisoners carried engineered bacteria designed to spread to their captors. Within hours, alien equipment across the planet began failing in mysterious ways. Weapons misfired, life support systems developed glitches, communication arrays went silent for no apparent reason. Lieutenant Emma Foster's psychological warfare campaign hit the aliens where they were most vulnerable: their confidence. Using captured alien communication equipment, she began broadcasting messages that played on their growing fears. "Attention, alien forces," her translated voice said over their command frequencies. "Welcome to Earth. You wanted to see how humans fight? This is just the beginning." The broadcasts included recordings of human war songs, clips from violent movies, and historical accounts of humanity's bloodiest conflicts. To the peace-loving aliens, it was like listening to demons describe hell. "Your commanders told you this would be easy," Emma's voice continued. "They said humans would surrender quickly when faced with superior force. How's that working out for you?" The psychological attack was subtle, but effective. Alien soldiers began jumping at shadows. Patrols reported false contacts. Equipment operators blamed mysterious failures on human sabotage, even when there was no evidence of enemy action. By the end of the first week, Veltar was forced to admit that the situation was not developing as planned. His forces controlled every major military installation and government building on Earth, but human resistance was actually increasing instead of decreasing. "Status report," he demanded from his field commanders. "Sir, we control all strategic targets as ordered," came the reply. "But enemy activity is widespread and difficult to track. They don't seem to have a central command structure." "What do you mean?" "Every human settlement appears to be conducting independent operations. When we destroy one resistance cell, 3 more appear elsewhere. They're not following conventional military doctrine." Veltar studied the tactical displays. Red markers showed human resistance activities across the globe. Instead of decreasing over time, the markers were multiplying. "How many enemy combatants are we facing?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. Our intelligence indicates that virtually every human adult has some form of combat training. Their children are being evacuated to hidden locations, but their entire adult population seems to be participating in resistance activities. This was unprecedented. In every previous conquest, the collective had faced organized militaries with clear command structures. Defeat the military, capture the leaders, and the species surrendered. But humans seemed to be treating warfare as a community activity. Every town, every neighborhood, every family was contributing to the fight. There was no central command to capture, no critical leadership to eliminate. Engineer Maria Lopez's improvised weapons were proving devastatingly effective. Her teams had turned every piece of civilian technology into potential weapons. Construction equipment became mobile, artillery. Delivery trucks became troop carriers. Even children's toys had been weaponized. "The beauty of improvised warfare," she explained to a group of resistance fighters, "is that the enemy can't prepare for weapons that don't exist yet." Her latest creation was a mobile launcher that looked like a food truck. It could set up anywhere. In a city, fire a salvo of improvised rockets, and then blend back into civilian traffic before the aliens could respond. "They're scanning for metal weapons and energy signatures," Maria continued. "So we use plastic explosives and kinetic projectiles. They're looking for military vehicles, so we disguise everything as civilian equipment." The food truck launcher struck its first target that afternoon, an alien command post in downtown Los Angeles. The attack came from a shopping mall parking lot where the truck had been selling tacos to human refugees. 2 years had passed since the aliens first laughed at humanity. Now, Harmonizer Veltar stood in his command center staring at reports that made no sense. According to every logical calculation, this war should have ended long ago. Instead, it was getting worse. "Sir," his aide reported nervously, "we've lost contact with Forward Base 7. Veltar's crystalline face showed no emotion, but inside he felt something his species rarely experienced: fear. Forward Base 7 was supposed to be impregnable, built into the moon with the most advanced defenses the collective could provide. "What happened?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. The base sent a routine status report at 0800 hours. Then, nothing. No distress call, no weapons fired detected, no energy signatures. It just went silent." Colonel Amy Roberts had led the assault on the alien moon base personally. After 2 years of fighting, human forces had learned to use the aliens' own assumptions against them. The attack had come from underground. Human engineers, led by Maria Lopez, had spent months digging tunnels through the lunar rock. The aliens, who thought in terms of space-based warfare, never considered that humans might attack from below. "Charges placed," Amy whispered into her radio. Her teams had crawled through kilometers of narrow tunnels to plant explosives under the base's main reactor. "All teams fall back to minimum safe distance," she ordered. The explosion that followed was small, but precisely targeted. It didn't destroy the alien base, it just cut the power. In the confusion that followed, human soldiers poured through hidden entrances, using tactics learned from 2 years of urban warfare. The aliens fought bravely, but they were trained for clean, organized combat. They had no experience with the kind of brutal, improvised fighting that humans had perfected over millennia of warfare. Within 6 hours, the moon base was in human hands. More importantly, its capture gave Earth access to intact alien technology and communication systems. Commander Jake Morrison read the intelligence reports with grim satisfaction. The captured alien databases revealed something the collective had been hiding. They were losing on multiple fronts. "It's not just us," he told Admiral Ben Parker. 3 other species have rebelled in the past year. The collective is fighting wars across half the galaxy." "What changed?" Ben asked. Jake smiled. We did. Word got out about how humans were fighting back. Other species started wondering why they had to accept alien rule. Some of them decided to follow our example. The truth was even worse for the collective than Jake realized. The human war had become a symbol of resistance across the galaxy. Species that had accepted alien domination for centuries were suddenly asking dangerous questions. Why should advanced technology guarantee political control? Why couldn't different species govern themselves? Why was collective rule necessarily better than independence? Captain Alex Morgan's submarine fleet had grown, from one experimental vessel to 30 improvised warships. They operated from hidden bases in Earth's oceans, striking alien supply lines and then vanishing back into the depths. Target acquired, his sonar operator reported. Alien heavy transport, heading for orbital rendezvous. Alex studied the tactical display. The transport was carrying reinforcements from the collective homeworlds, fresh troops to replace the demoralized soldiers currently occupying Earth. All vessels, attack formation, he ordered. Let's give these reinforcements a proper welcome. The battle was swift and decisive. 30 human submarines rose from the ocean floor like predators, overwhelming the alien escort ships with concentrated firepower. The transport survived, but its cargo of soldiers would never reach Earth's surface. Another delivery intercepted. Alex reported to Fleet Command. Enemy reinforcement schedule disrupted. The aliens were learning that fighting humans meant fighting an entire planet. Every human victory inspired more resistance. Every alien success just made their enemies more determined. Lieutenant Sam Turner had become humanity's leading fighter ace, but his greatest victory wasn't in aerial combat. His job now was training alien defectors. Yes, you heard correctly, he told the small group of Zephyrian pilots who had secretly contacted human forces. We're offering asylum to any alien soldier who wants to quit fighting. The defector program had started by accident when a damaged alien pilot was rescued by human medics. Instead of the torture he expected, the pilot received medical treatment and was offered a choice: return to his unit or help humanity end the war. To everyone's surprise, he chose to help. More defections followed as word spread through alien ranks. The collective was fighting an enemy that turned defeat into recruitment opportunities. Dr. Rachel Stone's biological warfare campaign had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations. Her engineered organisms had not only infected alien technology across the planet, but had begun adapting and spreading on their own. It's like we've given Earth an immune system, she explained to a gathering of resistance leaders. The planet itself is now hostile to alien occupation. Alien equipment required constant maintenance to function in Earth's environment. Their beautiful crystal technology was being eaten away by aggressive Earth bacteria. Their air recycling systems were clogged with engineered spores. Even their food supplies were contaminated with organisms that made alien digestion difficult. We've turned the entire biosphere into a weapon, Rachel continued. Every breath they take, every surface they touch, every drop of water they encounter is potentially hostile. The psychological toll on alien forces was becoming critical. Lieutenant Emma Foster's propaganda broadcasts had evolved into a sophisticated campaign that targeted alien fears and insecurities. "Attention, collective forces," her voice said over captured communication channels. "How many of your friends have died for Veltar's mistakes? How many more will die before he admits this war cannot be won?" The broadcasts included testimonials from alien defectors, statistics on collective casualties, and detailed descriptions of human war crimes committed against occupying forces. But the most effective psychological weapon was simpler: the growing realization that humans would never stop fighting. "Your commanders promised you a quick victory," Emma's voice continued. "That was 2 years ago. Your families think you're heroes liberating a primitive species. Want to tell them what you're really doing here?" Veltar knew his situation was hopeless, but admitting defeat meant accepting something the collective had never faced: the complete failure of their fundamental assumptions about warfare and civilization. "Status report," he demanded for what would be the last time. "Sir, we control 17% of pre-war strategic objectives," his aide reported. "Human resistance activity has increased by 400% in the past 6 months. Morale among our forces is problematic." "How problematic?" 43% of our ground forces have requested transfer to other theaters. 16% have simply abandoned their posts. 5% have defected to human forces. The numbers were devastating, but Veltar knew the real problem was deeper. The collective had built their entire civilization on the belief that advanced species naturally guided primitive ones. The humans had shattered that belief. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's addressed to you personally." Dr. Lisa Carter appeared on Veltar's screen, but she looked very different from the nervous scientist he had met 2 years ago. Her eyes were hard, her voice confident. "Harmonizer Veltar," she said, "I believe it's time we discussed terms." "Terms?" Veltar was confused. "You wish to negotiate surrender?" Lisa smiled grimly. "I'm offering you the chance to surrender to us." The words hit Veltar like a physical blow. In all his centuries of life, he had never heard a defeated species offer terms to their conquerors. "Your war is over," Lisa continued. "You can keep fighting and lose more ships, more soldiers, more prestige. Or you can accept reality and withdraw from human space." "You cannot be serious," Veltar replied. "We still have superior technology, superior numbers." "Do you?" Lisa interrupted. "Check your casualty reports, Veltar. Check your supply situation. Check the morale reports from your own commanders. Then ask yourself, can you actually win this war?" The truth was that Veltar had been asking himself that same question for months. Every tactical victory led to strategic defeat. Every successful battle made the overall situation worse. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "Complete withdrawal. From the Sol system," Lisa replied. "Formal recognition of human sovereignty, non-aggression pact between Earth and the collective, and compensation for damages caused by your occupation." "Compensation?" Veltar's voice rose. "You expect us to pay you for the privilege of ending this war?" "We expect you to take responsibility for the destruction you've caused," Lisa said calmly. "Consider it a learning experience." Admiral Ben Parker watched the negotiations from Earth's new orbital command station, built inside a captured alien vessel. Human engineers had spent months figuring out how alien technology worked, then improving it with typically human modifications. "Think they'll accept?" asked Commander Jake Morrison. "They don't have much choice," Ben replied. "Our intelligence. Reports show collective forces are stretched thin across multiple fronts. They can't afford to keep fighting us."